baseball, hockey, basketball, racing. And what it means is, hey, you found your way back to the Frat House. Right here. Frat House Mike, sidekick. And we cover it all, truly. We cover every single little tiny thing in sports every single week. That's why you got to make sure you get back here every week and check us out. What do you say this week? We kick it off with a little racing. Huh?
Sure.
Racing! Horsey racing! Let's go take a look at horses, huh? Yeah, the fastest 2 minutes in sports took place last Saturday, the 138th running of the Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky. Would it come as a surprise to you to know that, I'm a bit of a closet horse racing fan? Would that come as a surprise to you?
Doesn't surprise me.
Okay. The hype leading up to this race has really gotten, in my opinion, gotten a little bit out of control. They went for 2 days. 2 days we had to get coverage of this event.
And
but in the end,
beautiful hats.
All the beautiful hats. But in the end, the race, as it usually does, managed to live up to all the excitement. 3/4 of that race was led at different times by as much as like 5 lengths. Was led by Bodemeister. The favored, Union Rags, which is our local horse here from the Delaware area. Yep. And he was favored going into it. Did not get off to a very good start. Kind of got squeezed out of the gates and pushed to the back. But there's Bodemeister running the whole thing, 3/4 of the way through it. I mean, I was excited. I'm sitting there watching the whole thing, and you could just see it going into right around in turn 4. All of a sudden, you got I'll have another is just working his way up, and in the last like 30 seconds, that horse ran like hell, and ultimately won it. It was exciting. It really was. The Kentucky Derby is the first of the 3 Triple Crown races, with the Preakness is the second, and that is scheduled for next Saturday. Frankly, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't see a Triple Crown winner this year. That's just my personal feeling. I don't know.
Well, they're hard to come by.
Very, very rare. Now, you and I were down to Louisville, Kentucky last summer.
Yes, we were. Just missed a tornado down there.
We did. Within hours, the tornado hit. I don't know if any of you remember that, but there was a tornado that hit Churchill Downs, took out some of the stables within hours before we were there. All right? And we decided to just we were in Louisville, and on a whim, we said, hey, let's go take a look at Churchill Downs. And so I resurrected a 5 minutes outside the Frat House moment from last June, where you and I got a chance to simulate some jockeying going on.
Shall we play again?
Some of us are working a little harder than some of the rest.
Well, yeah. I didn't take it quite as seriously as you did, I guess. So let's go over and take a look. We're going to go over there and let's take a look at some real racing. Racing like we've become accustomed to around here. And that's 4-wide racing at one of my favorite tracks at Talladega. I love the excitement of the big wide tracks. And Sunday didn't disappoint as well. As Brad Keselowski won his first race of the NASCAR season just ahead of Kyle Busch. Others who came in the top 5, as I mentioned, Kyle came in second. Matt Kenseth was third. Kasey Kahne did one better than the week before. He came in 4th. And Greg Biffle, yet another top 5 finish. That's his 6th in 10 races so far. You just can't keep the guy out of it. Take a look at the top 5 overall Sprint Cup leaderboard. Greg Biffle continues to lead. Number 1 spot. Only 7 points, though. 378 points he's got total. He's only 7 points ahead of Matt Kenseth, who's got 371. 2 points behind that is Dale Jr., who dropped from 2nd to 3rd this week with 369. Denny Hamlin, 4th, 351. Kevin Harvick gets back into the top 5 with a 333 points. You're starting to see, at least I noticed this week, you're starting to see a slightly larger gap now being built from number 1 to number 5. And I found that a little bit interesting. Not quite as tight. You've got, what are we talking there? It's like a 40-some point difference between number 1 and number 5. We've got racing on Saturday night this week. I love Saturday night racing as well. Darlington Raceway, coverage, I believe, at 7, I think, on Fox. I know it's on Fox. I believe it's at 7 o'clock. Fantasy suggestions for this week?
Yes. The Lady in Black fantasy picks for the week. These are the guys, for those of us that are in the Frat House leagues, a couple names you might want to look up. Kyle, Kasey, and Newman.
Yeah.
Are the 3 guys I'm saying that you might want to... There's a couple other guys, Gordon, but Gordon's had a rough run this year, so I don't know.
Season. Yep.
But the other 3, I'd give it a little look.
All right. There you go. There you have it. Now, before I leave racing, I posted a comment on our Facebook page the other night about the controversy that had been going on for a couple of days there between Danica Patrick and Sam Hornish, which occurred during last Saturday night's nationwide race, where at the conclusion of the race, Danica slammed into Sam Hornish. Of course, he's getting used to this, I think, after last year. I mean, Kyle did the same thing to him.
Yeah.
He got slammed into by Danica at about 160 miles an hour. Now, apparently, amazingly, there weren't any penalties for either of the two drivers, but the trash talking went back and forth for quite a few days. And so I put up a post, and I just simply said, my post was simply, now, play nice, you two. Well, that created a heated exchange.
Oh, yeah.
With about 4 or 5 or 6 of our Facebook followers jumping in. All good stuff. I loved it. But, you know, there were varying opinions, obviously, on it. And more to the point, I kind of want to bring this up just as a quick kind of conversation topic. Because I remember last fall that, you know, during football season, in some of our conversations about somebody like Tim Tebow, I brought up the aspect that I kind of felt he was a rather polarizing figure. And I kind of see Danica the same way in NASCAR. She is a bit polarizing. Would that be a fair assessment? And if so, why do you think that is?
I think everybody likes, just likes to follow her, but, I don't have much regard.
Yeah, but do you think she is? I mean, do you think that people are feel either strongly one way or another about her?
Yeah.
I for one don't really care.
Yeah, it's like a lot of NASCAR racers. There's usually very little middle ground with people.
Right.
You're either you're either pro or you're against.
But I kind of get the sense that it's a woman thing because she's a female in NASCAR. That there's some polarization going on there. That's kind of just what I get. And that's kind of the sense I was getting from some of the comments on our Facebook page. But good comments nonetheless, and you got to keep those going. All right. Also on the Facebook page, following the other night, the Flyers loss in the NHL Eastern Conference semifinals, where they lost 4 games straight, lost the series 4-1 to the New Jersey Devils. I kind of did a little venting, and I kind of decided to let it go. And so I put out a piece on our Facebook page titled Demanding Thoughts on the Philadelphia Flyers, which I kind of composed, as I said, out of a bit of frustration. Nonetheless, it occurred to me afterward that what I'm going to try to do from this point, I'm going to try to put out a column a week. All right? And that's another reason for you to keep going and checking our Facebook page, because I'm going to try to keep a column a week going on something hot.
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking.
There you go. And so I'm going to try to keep that commitment. All right? All right, so keep checking our Facebook page. Baseball. We certainly had our share of improbables in Week 5 this week. And in fact, we had so many I kind of had to pare down our choices. But I think one of the bigger stories this week was, how about Baltimore Orioles designated hitter Chris Davis pitching both the 16th and the 17th inning of the game of their game against the Boston Red Sox last Sunday. Orioles ultimately went on and won that game 9-6. Davis got the win while throwing fastballs in the 80s and 90s and striking out to including Adrian Gonzalez. Could things be getting any worse for Bobby Valentine? Since we're mentioning the O'Birds, one of the other ones I pulled out, we can't leave Texas Ranger Josh Hamilton off the list this week, who Tuesday night hit 4 home runs. That's right, 4 home runs. Had 8 RBIs against the Orioles in their win against the Orioles in the Rangers' win of 10-3. All right, he's only the 16th player in Major League Baseball to hit 4 in one game, and the first to do so since Carlos Delgado in 2003. Hamilton, it's assumed, will not be with the Texas Rangers next year. This guy is leading the majors right now. Not the AL, the majors. 406 batting average, 14 home runs, 36 RBIs. Of course, I think the thing that's really that big stumbling block is his history of substance abuse. That's really the thing.
Yeah.
That's the big drawback. Things got almost comical in Denver last Saturday night between the Rockies and the Braves. Specifically between Rockies pitcher Jamie Moyer and Braves third baseman Chipper Jones. During the 5th inning, Jones was on second base. He's chatting it up with Troy Tulowitzki. Right? 49-year-old Moyer turns around, whips around, yells at him, "Hey, I know what you're doing there. You're trying to steal signs." The two engaged in back and forth for a couple of moments right on the field. It was kind of like 2 bickering grandparents, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
After the game, though, Jones continued to contend he was not attempting to steal signs, stating, "I mean, dude, We don't need to steal signs, especially against him. And last but not least, the matchup between Philadelphia Phillies pitcher Cole Hamels and the 19-year-old phenom from the Washington Nationals. Bryce Harper certainly got some traction Sunday night. Very first pitch, Hamels' very first pitch to him, he drilled Harper square in the back. And everybody who saw it said, well, that was obvious. I mean, it was purposeful. And later, when asked in the clubhouse whether he was throwing at Harper, Hamels, some people say refreshingly, said, yeah, I was trying to hit him. Why not, right? I'm not going to deny it. It's something I grew up watching. I'm not sure what Hamels was watching, but they're probably not going to like me for it, but I wasn't going to lie and say that I didn't. Not going to like me. Well, the executive vice president of the Nationals, Mike Rizzo, who helped kind of coordinate and organize the Take Back the Park campaign and the Natitude hype over the weekend, well, he pulled an attitude of himself, calling Hamels classless, gutless, fake tough. Says, hey, if he thinks he's going to intimidate us, he's got another thing coming. So I would say that the executive vice president, Mike Rizzo, got what he wanted. He got exactly what he wanted. What was Harper's reaction? Harper's quote was this about Hamels. He's a great guy. Great pitcher. Knows how to pitch. He's an all-star. Improbables. I thought they were quite amusing.
That's all he's got to say.
ML leaderboard. Let's go take a look at it. Guess what? Hey, the AL and the NL, exactly the same as last week. There's really been no changes. The Rays continue to stay at the top in the East. The Cleveland Indians there are in the Central, and the Texas Rangers in the West. In the National League, there are the Nationals. They're up there at the top in the East. Cardinals in the Central, and the Dodgers are in the West. And that leads us to our analysis this evening of the NL Central. And we're moving over to the Heartland.
Oh, yeah.
And that means we're going to be taking a close look at the Chicago Cubs, Cincinnati Reds, Houston Astros, Milwaukee Brewers, Pittsburgh Pirates, and the St. Louis Cardinals. And I'll start it off with the Cubbies.
Boo.
All indications were that we should not expect too much from the Chicago Cubs. Again, this year. Don't expect too much.
Or any other year.
Yeah. With just a few up-and-coming stars, like first baseman Brian LaHair, who's leading the team in average with 384, 8 home runs, 18 RBIs. Then there's you get the idea.
Castro?
You get the idea. Starlin Castro, that's it. Yeah, no. There really isn't much going on there, okay? Starlin Castro is playing out of his mind right now. He's hitting 347 and 19 RBIs. But cash that in for now, because Castro, well, that guy can slump anytime, any moment, very quickly, and without any warning. The Cubs wish they could start Ryan Dempster almost every day, along with Matt Garza. Dempster is their best pitcher in the rotation with an ERA of 1.02 and a 4 earned run. And on 4 earned runs on 35 and a third innings pitched.
And you want to know what the Cubs' highlight of the year is for this year? Just this past week, pro wrestler CM Punk singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" in the 7th inning.
Well,
that's what's going on with the Cubs.
That'll pack them in there. That'll put them in the seats. Now, we can only hope that the Cubs will be playing a team like the Padres or somebody like that when you and I get our way over there to Wrigley Field.
Maybe they'll let us sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
They might be that desperate. So what do you got going on with the Big Red Machine? Go ahead.
The Big Red Machine. The Reds, they're 16-14. They're 3.5 games back. We got their offense is led by Jay Bruce, right fielder, batting .297, 10 home runs. We got Joey Votto on first base, .291 average, 2 home runs, leads the team in on-base percentage. And then we got Johnny Cueto with a 1.12 ERA and 4 wins. And then also honorable mention, Bronson Arroyo, 2.75 with 2 wins.
Yep. Interestingly, SI picked them to win the Central over the St. Louis Cardinals. Picked them to win. And I just want to throw in a comment about Votto. I'll tell you right now, I'm not doing fantasy. We were playing around with the idea, but I'll tell you, if I were doing fantasy baseball, I would start my team, seriously, with Joey Votto. That's how much I think of that guy. Houston Astros. Is anybody even sure that there is a Houston Astros team? I'm really not sure, because when I peer over their roster, I don't know if it's the Houston Astros or if it's the Montgomery Biscuits. Yeah, that is a real team, by the way. Montgomery Biscuits. They're a real team. This is a bad team, and the worst part of it, can I be honest, is that I don't see anybody in that organization doing anything to try to make it better. But for the sake of fairness, we will mention third baseman Chris Johnson's .295 batting average. He's got 4 home runs and 19 RBIs. For sake of fairness, we'll mention second baseman Jose Altuve. All right, he's got a team-leading .333 average. For fairness, we'll mention Wandy Rodriguez's 2.14 ERA on 46 innings pitched. And with all fairness, we're going to move on because there's not anything more to talk about. Let's go take a look at what's happening in Milwaukee.
The Brew Crew. They're down there keeping the Cubs company there. 13-18, 7 games behind. We'll talk about Ryan Braun, left fielder,
Yeah.
batting at .313, 10 home runs. Followed up by Corey, I wear my sunglasses at night, Hart, batting at .231 with 6 home runs. And then pitching, we've got Zach Greinke, .335 with 3 wins.
Yep. When you look at it, household names on that team, and that's due in part a lot to the fact that this team has been going to the playoffs pretty consistently almost every year. Now, they don't get too far. I'll be curious to see. You can't replace a Prince fielder, so I'm going to be really, really curious to see how they ultimately end up. But SI did have them finishing up fairly well. Pittsburgh Pirates. Hey, I almost feel bad for center fielder Andrew McCutchen, really. And his .330 batting average. I like McCutchen personally. And I suppose we could send a bit of sympathy out toward second baseman Neil Walker as well. Because after that, offensively, this team is just dormant. Team strength really is in its pitching rotation, which is good. It's not great, but it's good. But it's definitely not going to be strong enough to get them moving anywhere in the right direction. But we'll throw some roses out to Eric Bedard. All right, he's got a .257 ERA, 35 innings pitched. We're going to close out our central analysis with your hometown heroes there.
Yes.
The St. Louis Cardinals world champions.
Defending world champion St. Louis Cardinals. We're 20-11, atop the Central. Tied for least losses in the league.
Yeah,
a couple other
that's
teams.
true.
So we're going to talk about a lot of guys, actually.
Well,
none of those are named Pujols.
The whole crew.
I mean, we got John Jay batting .379, 2 home runs. Carlos Beltran, .284, leads the team in home runs, 10 runs. David Freese with 7 home runs, batting .312. I mean, there's no...
Rafael Furcal, .361.
Exactly.
Yadi Molina, .302. Take a look at the
offense is just clicking.
Pitching.
And then we've got, then you go pitching. We've got a great rotation this year. We've got Lance Lynn, who's got a 140 average. He's 6-0. We've got Jake Westbrook, 176, 4 wins. Kyle Loesch, 308. Or I'm sorry, 208, 5 wins. Everybody, in the offseason, it was all about what are you guys going to do with Pujols gone. I'm sorry, we're not missing him this year.
You're not missing it. No, I'd have to.
The only thing we're missing is that big dollar paycheck.
This stays this way, and you don't have too many injuries. I don't see anybody beating the Cardinals in the Central.
Yeah.
All right, that's our wrap for baseball. NBA playoffs.
Hey, I
that's your special time.
Woo! I love NBA playoffs. Yeah,
Go for
it's because the teams are limited. It's a little easier for me to get in with that.
We do have some series that have finished up.
So anyway, so congratulations go out to the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder, who advanced to the next round, sweeping their opponents. Then we followed by the Miami Heat and the Indiana Pacers, who have also advanced 4-1 in both of their outings. So teams we still have going, we have the Lakers, who lead 3-2 over the Denver Nuggets. Game 6 tonight. They might be able to close this out. We've got the LA Clippers leading the Grizzlies 3-2. That game's going to be tomorrow night, Game 6. Our Philadelphia Sixers are currently playing. It's 43-37.
2.5 minutes left in the second quarter.
They lead the series 3-2 over the Bulls. With obviously Game 6 going on right now. And we've got the Boston Celtics leading 3-2 over the former St. Louis Hawks, the Atlanta Hawks. Their game also Game 6 tonight.
And I think the general thinking is with that Sixers game is they better win it tonight because they don't want to be going back to Chicago with that series tied up at 3. Not particularly since the Sixers had a 3-1 lead.
Yep.
Run over to the NHL. Let's take a look at where the playoffs stand on that one. And we know right now that in the West, we do have a conference final matchup. And that is there's upstart LA Kings, seeded 8, going up against the number 3 seed Phoenix Coyotes.
And could get ugly quick.
I'm going to tell you,
because they're undefeated on the the Kings are undefeated on the road.
Kings are undefeated on the road.
They're going to Phoenix for 2 games. We could be talking 2-0 for the Kings.
Mike Quick has certainly lived up to his name. He has been phenomenal. First blush, I would probably take the Kings in this series. In the East, we still have one matchup.
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking.
We have, in the East, we have still one matchup going, which is the Washington Capitals at the New York Rangers, and that series is tied up at 3. And they will be going on to play, the winner of that will go on to play, the New Jersey Devils, who beat, as I pointed out earlier in the show, beat my Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, both of our teams are out.
And that's our fast-moving, action-packed, full show for this week. You got to check us out next week. In the meantime, you know what you got to do. You got to keep it real. You got to keep it live. You got to keep us going. Thanks very much.
I live for this shit.
How about another? To center field, number 4, Josh Hamilton on an unstoppable tear in Baltimore.
Got a standing ovation from the Oriole crowd, too. This is like the home run derby in Yankee Stadium.
If you have been watching Ranger baseball since day 1, 1972, we have never seen a performance like this.